Moving on. Let's get into the Miami Dolphins. Start off with our favorite Alabama quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, the Hawaiian.
Yes. Yes.
Do you like him for fantasy this year?
I don't know if I do or not. And I think that's a question that a lot of people have been asking is the whole crux of the Miami Dolphins this season all depends upon Tua. If he can make the leap, if he can make the leap that some of these quarterbacks have already made, like Herbert, Burrow, you put Josh Allen in there. If he can make that leap, then Miami will have a lot of success. I think they could really challenge Buffalo for the title, but it all depends upon Tua. I had him last year as a backup to Aaron Rodgers, and he showed out against Kansas City, had a really solid game, 3 touchdowns, but he also had some inconsistent games where he was tossing a couple picks. He was a little indecisive, overthrowing, underthrowing, typical quarterback mistakes. But I think Tua turns it around. I think he does. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look at his wide receiving core. It's pretty stacked this year.
Yeah.
Talent on this team has gone way up. And Tua's got a season under his belt, a little more experience. He's got all the tools to succeed. Am I going to bet it all on Tua, though, and have him as my starting quarterback week 1? Probably not. I'd probably draft him as a backup. See what happens. What's his ADP right now? Do you know?
1507.
Okay, yeah. See? Take him with your last pick. See what happens. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So what you could be tempted to think, possibly, is 2021 Tua could end up like 2019 Lamar Jackson. Virtually undrafted, started a few games last season and had some success. But the thing here is the Ravens they totally retooled their offense around Lamar. And while I think Miami's made some steps to protect Tua and to get him some more weapons, Tua's obviously not the running quarterback that Lamar is, which no one really is. So it's tempting to think that Tua could be that next 2019 Lamar Jackson. I don't know if I'd be willing to take that shot. As my QB1, at least, I think you're on the right thinking there. It wouldn't hurt to take a flyer on Tua way late when you've already got somebody, in the earlier rounds, Rodgers or maybe Herbert or Burrow. Maybe you've got one of the New Orleans quarterbacks, and you want a little bit more insurance of someone who is going to be under center with Tua. Do we think his injury is any concern anymore? His hip injury he had in college?
Not where you're drafting him. No.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be concerned about it.
Probably not. Ready to move on?
Yeah. Quarterbacks, the running backs. Myles Gaskin, Ahmed. Do you like any of these guys one more than the other? Are you targeting these guys?
Yeah, I actually kind of like Myles Gaskin a little bit. I think, he's probably RB2 range. I don't see him finishing as an RB1, and I think he'll end up finishing mid RB2 to possibly late RB2. Right now I'm seeing his ADP is about 412, so a little high. But the thing is, when he was in games, he was producing.
Yeah.
He had some really solid games out there. Ended up, he had a lot of injuries happen last year. He only had about 500 yards or 600, closer to 600 yards. But the big thing is he had 47 targets last year, which is
that's great.
Yeah, that's the kicker with Myles Gaskin is the targets. I really want those targets, especially playing in PPR leagues, that's even more valuable for the guy who's probably going to be the number one running back on the team. You know, they didn't draft anyone. They didn't really trade for anyone. I think they got Malcolm Brown back there too. And Salvin Ahmed's still there, but it's Gaskin's show, I think, in the backfield. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, watching him last year, he passed that eyeball test. He looked good running the ball. Looked like a guy who can do it all, catch, run, a third down back, or a 3-down back. And hopefully they use him like that. And he gets that fantasy volume he needs to be successful. He never really popped off last year. Never had like a monster 30-point game or anything. But I think he'll be a good consistent back that has a safe floor each week.
I think so too. So looking at his ADP is about 412. Here's a couple of guys that are going around him. David Montgomery, Josh Jacobs. Out of those three, who would you want?
I think we both want Josh Jacobs. I think we love his ADP this year.
We are both very high on Josh Jacobs. I think I would probably go Jacobs out of the three, but I still do like Myles Gaskin a lot. I don't think we need to talk about Salvin Ahmed, do we?
No, I'm not targeting him. No. Let's talk about these stacked wide receivers: Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Jalen Waddle. And that's not all. There's still Preston Williams. There's still Jakeem Grant. Yeah. There's one more guy I can't think of, but that's like the most fun Madden wide receiver core you could put together.
There's so much speed around these wide receivers. Waddle is a burner. Will Fuller has always been a burner in the NFL. Jakeem Grant, super fast. Preston Williams, a fast guy. Hell, Devontae Parker can run too.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an improvement in what they had last year, but will they cannibalize each other is the question.
I don't know. I think it's hard to pick which one's going to be the most successful.
It is.
But I think one of them will break out and be Tua's top target. I think it's just good for the offense, honestly, having all these guys.
Yeah, it's great for the offense, but what do we do with fantasy right now? I mean, are you looking? Devontae Parker is obviously the most established out of these three, at least in Miami and in this offense. Are you really looking for Devontae Parker in drafts?
Thank you. What's his ADP? Can you read all their ADPs off? Do you have them?
Devontae Parker is 909 right now. Waddle is 1107. And William Fuller is 709.
Whoa, Will Fuller going first, huh?
It looks like the pundits...
Will Fuller's going to miss a game, too.
That's right. He has missed the first game, right?
Yeah.
So everybody's banking on Will Fuller coming out of this trio of top-tier, well, not really top-tier, but top-tier talented wide receivers as the number one. I still like Devontae Parker, I think, out of these three.
That's a great ADP.
909. Yeah. For a guy who could end up being the wide receiver one in this offense. You're not going to draft him as your wide receiver one or your wide receiver two. He's, one of those, he's like Singletary and Moss. He's one of those bench players that you want to hold on to in case you get a really good matchup, somebody got injured, something like that. Do we like Waddle where he's going at 1107?
I do. I mean, if you watch him in college, he's just such an explosive player. I think he'll instantly make an impact. And when he gets the ball, he has a chance to get to the house for a touchdown every time. So I mean, you're right. All these guys.
I do too, but at the same time, I don't know if any of them are really going to break out as that true one wide receiver. I think the best chance is Parker. But I don't know. I think the ADPs are low enough, probably on all three of them, to take your pick and just grab one latch on and see what happens. And if not, then they could be decent trade players, then trade candidates.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about the tight end Gasecki? Do you think he'll have a better season than they did last year?
It's hard to really tell with tight ends. I was high on Gasicki last year. I think you were too.
Very high, yeah.
Yeah, because the whole thing was it's a rookie quarterback. He's coming in, he's going to target his safety valve with a tight end who has a profile to catch the ball. He's not a terrific blocker, but he can get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Right now his ADP is at 812. So he's a guy I guess you're kind of taking a shot on. He'll finish as a tight end 1, but what does that mean outside of, Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller?
Yeah, not a lot. It didn't win you any games or anything. If he gets the targets, I think he'll be a good fantasy tight end. But last year, he didn't really get the targets. There were games where he caught like one pass for a touchdown. Yeah, and that's I don't know.
That helped you
Sometimes
one game.
That's the best you can get. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and plus with all these new faces in here, I'm not sure if he'll still see as much volume as we thought he would. He had 85 targets last year, so
that's a good number for.
That's a great number.
I thought it was less than that.
But the only thing is, on those 85 targets, he only caught 53 balls. So
yeah.
Could be quality of target. It may not be Gasicki's issue. They also brought in Hunter Long in the draft. I think he was their second or third round pick. I don't really see him taking too much away from Mike Gesicki. I'm not looking at Long. It's really Gesicki we're here talking about. But, maybe he could come in and take a few snaps away. We'll have to see through camp what happens with the Miami tight end situation, I guess. But Would you take a shot on Gesicki this year?
I think there's other guys I like better. In the mock drafts I've been doing, I'm never really looking for Gesicki. It's always other guys who seem more interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you have guys like
defense? Go ahead.
Yeah. We could talk defense. I agree with you really on Gesicki. Miami's defense last year was terrific. I had them for the majority of the year, and they were getting all kinds of turnovers and defensive touchdowns. It's pretty great living with Miami's defense on your roster. Are you looking at them again this year?
I don't know. Do you think they can repeat that same success they did last year?
No,
think it's still the same?
That was going to be my next point. No. Okay, yeah. They lost a few guys. I think Van Noy, they only brought him in for a year and cut him. And then and they still have, what's his name, Xavier Howard in the secondary. So they'll still be fine. But, yeah, I don't see them repeating what they did last year as a top 5 unit.